All right, back to the linguistic section. This is 8 point something, 8.4, I don't know what it is. This is going to seem repetitive in a way because I touched on this in morphology. Inflections. Many languages have inflections, and they are changes in word endings. English is an inflected language. Not all languages are, but to some extent we inflect our words. Chinese, to my understanding, is not an inflected language. So in Chinese, what they do is they use whole words to indicate things that we would use endings. If a Chinese person doesn't know English well, that person might say something like, the two boy yesterday walk to the store. The two boy yesterday walked to the store. Well, we would say the two boys yesterday walked to the store. They do not naturally put the inflections on there. Other languages, German, Latin is extremely inflected, very highly inflected. The other languages that I know are more inflected than English. German is quite inflected, and I'll have more to say about that later. All right, number. I think I told you that already, but basically there are singular and plural. There are some languages that have a number called dual. In other words, they'll have a word like we would say I if I'm singular. I didn't give an example. All right, I, we. I would be an example, and then we would be plural. Well, there's some languages that have a pronoun there if it's not just I, but there's two of us. That's dual. But if it's more than two, then it's plural. But you don't need to know that. The languages that this course is going to touch upon do not deal with that. Case. Now, case is a little hard to explain. It shows how a word is being used in a sentence. Once again, English is not very inflected, but it is possible to show it. If we go to the pronouns, we can see it better in English. There's subjective, possessive, and objective cases in English. Now, in Latin, I think there are 7 cases, I think 5 or 7. In German, I believe that there are 4. In Indo-European, they think that there were 7. But anyway, you can see them in English. If it's the subject of a sentence, I would say, I teach. If it's possession, it's not this is I class, this is my class, my possession. This class is mine. I'll later, we get to pronouns, I'll try to explain that difference. And then objective. Doc Blanchard taught I. No, we can't say that in English because I'm receiving the action. Doc Blanchard is the subject. Doc Blanchard taught me. Well, the difference there is a difference in what is called case. Very important in Latin and very important in German as well, and many other languages. Gender is still another reason. Gender. There are 3 genders, basically. There's masculine, feminine, and neuter. In English, there are 3 genders. Masculine, if I use the pronouns again, it's easier to show. I said actor, actress, to show the difference in nouns. But in pronouns, he is the masculine pronoun, she is a feminine pronoun, and it is the neuter pronoun. Now what we do in English is rather unusual. What we do is, if we're talking about people, and to some extent animals, we're going to use he or she, and everything else, if it's not a living thing, it's an it. We sort of separate into non-living, the non-living class and living class. But we do have 3 genders. Now, German does as well. German has 3 genders, and German, it's not anywhere near that easy. And not anywhere near that easy because they do not make that separation, but they have 3 genders. In the Romance languages, there are only 2 genders, masculine and feminine. Well, that leaves out neuter. So what if you're talking about a car? Well, is a car masculine or is a car feminine? Let me think. La voiture. In French, a car is feminine. And now here's bad news. This is bad news for an optimistic student of foreign language. In these languages, and all the languages except for English, When you learn a noun, you need to learn what gender that noun is. And you can't get away with just figuring if it's not a living person, it's an it. It does not work. Every single thing that you can name in a Romance language, every noun is either going to be masculine or feminine. The noun will not be neuter. So you take the moon. Is the moon masculine or feminine? Well, in French it's feminine. In German it's masculine. Why? There's no real easy answer to that. I'm going to explore it more. I went on Wikipedia and looked up gender and read the articles. Very interesting. It became no problem for me ultimately in the Romance languages. Well, for one thing, if a noun ends with an O in a Romance language, it's probably going to be masculine. If it ends with an A, it's probably going to be feminine. That helps a lot. In German, it is a real dilemma for me. It's something I need to eventually conquer. But I know lots of German words. I am not good on the gender. And I need to continually work on that. And I will. Now, there's a funny little story to tell about. I guess I'll squeeze it in here. Then I'll only have 3 videos. When I was teaching this one time, many years back, I talked about Fran. Well, in her class, there was a girl that had the hiccups every day. She had the hiccups at the same day. And I don't think she was being ornery. She couldn't help it. She got the hiccups. And I say, do you want to go get a glass of water? She'd go get a glass. Try holding your breath. Holding her breath. Day after day it happened, but I taught anyway. Well, anyway, one day I was going along teaching about this, and sure enough, she got the hiccups. And when I got to gender, these are 8th graders, or maybe 7th, I'm not sure at that time. It might have been 7th graders. I got the gender, and I said, well, it's sort of like sex. And just like that, the hiccups stopped. I think this girl's name was Jessica. I don't know if she sucked her breath in when I used the word sex. I don't know what it was, but they just stopped like a miracle. And I know that kids are going to be aware of this. And so, I hope I'm not too long. This is not male, this is not female, masculine and feminine. They are different terms, but kids get them confused. And the funny thing about that was thereafter, she would get the hiccups. And somebody in the class, I think, said, well, try saying sex. Gone, as quick as that. It was a cure for the hiccups. Well, that was kind of quick, but I'm in a hurry because I didn't look at the clock. All right, I have one more video today. See you for that.